Well, hello everybody, welcome back down into the dungeon. I got a little bit of farting around I need to do down here before I can bring anything in to try and overwinter it. And frankly, judging by the nighttime temperatures around here, I think that time is rapidly approaching because a lot of these plants really can't deal with it too much colder than it's getting, but at the same time I want to stretch out the amount of time they can spend in the real sun as long as I possibly can. So it's getting on that interesting dance of the seasons time around here, but well, gardening in Manitoba, what do you expect? So today I just figured I'd show you really quickly, well, kind of some of the things I'm doing here on the Darwin survival table so I can clean it up and, well, make room for seedlings again, so yeah. One of the things I'm getting to is I'm finally transplanting some of these spider plants. I pulled those two out in the back and they were already like swelling and threatening to, well, break open my little seedling container, so that's not going to work. I don't have quite enough planters for all of those, but I'll figure something out. There's always, you know, these party cups if it comes down to it. And then here, this is the ahi Guyana that I grew again for this season. Somehow it has survived being down here this whole time. It has forked again. It's probably going to start trying to produce peppers soon, but the little tiny cup is well, a little on the sad side. I was thinking about putting it into this slightly larger planter, but I don't think that's really large enough to make much of a difference. Over here in the double cup, we've got a very sad looking ahi fantasy. Probably time to get rid of some of these much older leaves. I never did get around to washing off the edges of this thing with a little bit of rubbing alcohol, but the aphid situation down here seems greatly reduced, so maybe I don't need to. One thing kind of interest going on down here, we've got all these sage cuttings. Some of them do appear to be dying off. Others really kind of appear to be staying alive, so that's part of the whole Darwin thing though, isn't it? We'll see who lives, who dies, who makes it, who don't. Hopefully, you know, I'll get some of these tricolor sage cuttings to actually root up and become good solid plants. A couple of these really do look like maybe they're doing alright though. As for the rosemary, literally 2 of those look like they might be surviving. That's about it. So, thought I'll show you one of those spider plant transplants so you can kind of see what's going on with that. And then basically, yeah, you're kind of filled in on what's going on today. Not a whole lot. There wasn't a video yesterday, and I'm sorry, not sorry for that. If you want to check out what happened to me yesterday, go back to the RevToast TV channel. Check out the meetups last night, Canada versus the Bambi Challenge. Thank you again, Rob, for including me in that, and well, for sending it up to all of us Canadians that have gotten to partake. It's nice to be thought of, even though we're all the way up here across that imaginary line. So, anyway, back on track. Let's grab one of these spider plants so you can see just how well they've rooted since we put them into those little containers there. So I loosened this one before I got the camera back, but there's a look at the rhizomes that are already forming in that. Comfortably little root bound plant there. Nice looking little start. You gotta love a plant that's just that happy to propagate. I got a lot more of these to do, and they all pretty much look like that, except for maybe those little tiny ones in there. I may leave the tiny ones because they're not a threat to the planter, but these big ones are definitely getting hauled out today. Plunk it in, cover it up. I'm gonna water this from the bottom, and then basically that spider plant is good to go for quite some time. I mean, really, spider plants are fantastic. They're like the mint of houseplants. They're really kind of hard to kill. They're super easy to propagate. They're incredibly forgiving, and some might even say they like a little punishment. So there you go. I do very much recommend spider plants as a starting point for houseplants for anybody just kind of getting interested in getting started in gardening. They're maybe not quite ready to get into food crops yet, not feeling the confidence. Yeah, grab yourself a spider plant, watch how well it grows, and then you'll be primed to get started growing, well, whatever tickles your fancy from there. So I guess while I'm transplanting things today, this ahi Guyana, I'm going to bury this sucker basically right down to where it forked. I've got well, a large yogurt container, which fits delightfully well into the peanut butter container. So this will be my sort of kind of double cup for this particular plant that is obviously never going to experience outdoor life, but it seems okay with life in the dungeon, so this is a good start. Time to fill that up and hope it survives. Wow, that's a lot more space on the Darwin table for me now. I still kind of want to check and see how these sage cuttings are doing. Maybe if I find roots on whatever I pull up today, I'll transplant one of those. But I imagine the rest of them will be left alone. So here's those sage cuttings. I'm kind of just going through and gently pulling. A couple of these have given no resistance at all. And a couple of them have given, you know, pretty reasonable amount. There's, oh, see, that's... looked like it still had a bit of green, but not really. This one, well, gave a little resistance. Just some hope there. That one moved a little bit, but kind of resisted. So, I guess I'll pull this one. We'll take a look, see what we see. Okay, so I pulled this out, swished it off in the fish tank, and I don't really see anything that looks like roots forming on there, so I'll just poke into one of these empty spots, or I'll just put it in that one there, close it back up, and we'll leave it to sit until it roots or falls over dead. Such is life. Can't always win with cuttings, can you? Alright, so the sage cuttings were a bust for today. Last night somebody was asking me about when I'm getting started for next year, and I said tomorrow, and true story. Here we have, I've got a setup for 9 chocolate ghosts, a setup for 9 paper lanterns. Chocolate ghosts because, you know, Halloween's kind of the next holiday coming up. Most people, well, most kids anyway, don't celebrate the start of the school season quite the same way as parents do. And the paper lantern because these are the ones I harvested. I want to see if any of them are going to sprout. Now, last night we also discussed a wide variety of ways to start seeds. For these ones, because I have, you know, a little bit of time, technically this season isn't even done yet, and I'm starting next season, I am just going to go with the old-fashioned 1/4 to 1/2 inch into this soil, plunk one seed down there. I'm not putting a humidome on top. A lot of you may think, wow, that's a change, and it is. I'm a little nervous about that, but I've noticed that with the baggies or the humidomes and all that stuff on top, plants are more likely to get leggy under the exact same light. So I'm just going to skip it entirely. Somehow some of these plants have managed to survive down here with these current environmental conditions. So I'm hoping if these guys get started in some of the rougher time to grow in the dungeon, these are going to be some of my stronger dungeon plants. I don't know if that's logical or not, but that's the goal. So 9 chocolate ghosts getting started today, 9 paper lanterns getting started today. Good times. So the struggle is very, very real for both of these seed types. These chocolate reaper seeds here were actually, I should say. Geez, get a sense of grammar, Mr. Bear. Anyway, these chocolate reapers, or chocolate ghost seeds, were sent to me in a dehydrated pod, and I gathered those seeds. Open pollinated, I'm sure, could be a crossbreed. I don't really mind growing freaks. It's always fun to see what happens. And or they may not sprout at all because I don't know what temperature they were dehydrated at. When I dehydrate my peppers, I do it at about 140 to 160 because I got one of those fancier fruit and veggie drying dehydrators so I could set the temperature. And I'm comfortable that that's hot enough to dry my peppers and cool enough that my seeds will still germinate most of the time. But anyway, I don't know, you know, what temperature these were dried at. The paper lanterns also have their struggles. Their struggles are very, very real. Batman mentioned to me that these get their best flavor when they get fully ripe at red. I harvested these seeds from an orange paper lantern because I thought that was ripe. So they may not be mature enough to do anything. They may be cooked. I may get nothing out of these 18. I may get 18. We're just going to have to wait it out and find out. But there you go. As ridiculous as it is, August 2018, and I have started my 2019 hopefuls for the pepper garden. Some of the other varieties I'm thinking of for the Halloween section of the garden, I've got the Red Ghost here, got Batman's Hell's Bells, I've got a couple of Devil's Heart seeds left, still haven't gotten anything out of those. Jay's Chocolate Ghost Scorpion, it's going to be chocolate ghosts again, right? Jay's Peach Ghost Scorpion, Reaper, and Yellow Ghost. It seemed to me most of these things kind of followed a theme, you know. I've got a couple other seeds down here I want to get going soon too. I've got some El Oro de Ecuador seeds that I saved for myself. Again, I'm a little worried they might have been early, so we'll see. And these are from the Sugar Rush Peach that had no color at all. So I'm just curious to see if they'll sprout. Yeah, so that is going to be the beginning of the 2019 chili garden here. And I think that's probably about it for today in the dungeon. The houseplant shelf is a little bit more crowded today, but it'll be fun to watch those grow up and start to take up lots and lots of space. And now we have plenty of spiders and astrids to give away, so that's always fun too. Giving away plants is almost as much fun as giving away food. Very close. Definitely running close. And on that note, everybody, that's where I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for joining me down here in the dungeon today as I'm kind of farting around with end of the season, beginning of the season. The season never ends around here kind of stuff. Speaking of the full season, tomorrow is the full look around at the Yard and Gardens. So be sure to tune in for that. And yeah, I'm going to say probably bring a beverage. I'll see you tomorrow.